Hello and welcome to the Picture Show. My name is Emily Barmore. Today my guest host and I will be reviewing the remake of a classical 1941 animation movie, Dumbo. You've seen a housefly, you've seen a dragonfly, and you've even seen a horsefly, but you've never seen an elephant fly. Let's take a look at the trailer for Dumbo.
Welcome, baby Dumbo. We're all family here, no matter how small.
You have something very rare. You have wonder. You have mystique. You have magic. Wow! Come with me. Together, we can soar on an elephant's wings.
What's happening? Where are they taking her?
Take Dumbo back inside.
But she's his mom. Do something. He needs us. Look at me. We're gonna bring your mama home.
He doesn't look like magic to me.
Your children need you to believe in them.
You can do it, Dumbo. Show him. Fly, Dumbo. Fly.
Baby of mine.
And that was the trailer for the 2019 remake of Dumbo. This movie was directed by Tim Burton, who did Nightmare Before Christmas, Alice in Wonderland, and Edward Scissorhands. And with me to talk about it today is my good friend Bailey Harvey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing great. Now, you and I actually went to go see it together.
Yes, we did.
We have a lot to talk about. We both loved this movie. I wanted to talk about the actors real quick. In this, we had Colin Farrell, who is from Fantastic Beasts, Where to Find Them, and The Founder. You have Michael Keaton, who is from a different Tim Burton movie of Beetlejuice. Danny DeVito, which is from a different Tim Burton movie, Big Fish. And the last one is Eva Green from a different Tim Burton movie of House of Peculiar Kids. A lot of people from Tim Burton.
Yes, he certainly does have favorite actors and actresses that suit his aesthetic.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, what did you think of the movie?
Well, as a self-proclaimed Disney fanatic, I certainly enjoyed the remake. Compared to the original movie, the original is always going to hold like a special place, especially for you and I, since
Obviously.
we're very deep into the Disney. Yeah. And so compared to the first movie, it's always going to have that like different take. And then the new movie they came out with, they did a really good job of representing everything within the movie, especially like with the different settings of what the time period was, even though the first movie was made in 1941. This movie took place, in 1919, which is after one of the wars.
Right. And I liked that they still kept the stuff with the original movie because the original movie was all animals. It was talking animals. The only animals that they really kept that were really important in the movies was obviously the elephants, Dumbo. I liked that they kept, they did it to where they made his blue eyes, his big ears, and how they drooped right. But I also liked what they did with it. Like the stork, the stork comes and delivers the baby and the blanket to the mom, which they call her Mrs. Jumbo. And in the remake, they did it to where the stork was on her cage, and was on her cage the night before, and then left, and the next morning there's Dumbo. So I like that they did different symbolism with the feathers. The crow gave him the feathers, being like, use this feather and it can help you fly. And it was the kids who gave him the feather, and they're like, oh, he uses it. That's what he uses to fly. So I like that they did that with it. Would you say there, besides the symbolism, the similarities between the first movie and the second one, scene-wise?
Scene-wise, I think they did really good representations, like what you said with the stork, how in the original movie it did come to deliver Dumbo, but in this case she delivered Dumbo herself, because there's no way a stork's going to carry like a 3-ton baby elephant. And so throughout the movie there's a lot of different character development that we don't get in the first movie, since it is based on talking animals and their experiences, which is something Disney is known for, especially in like different movies like The Rescuers, or all the Mickey Mouse shows we get. And then in this movie they did really well with like the bubble scene of the pink elephants on parade.
I like that one because in 1941, that one, he drank some alcohol and was hallucinating all of that. And in 2019, you can't really, I know it's still an elephant, but we relate him to a baby. So you can't really be like, oh, the baby drank booze and, he hallucinated it. It was more of like they did bubbles, and I saw it as he kind of like saw them dancing, like the pink elephants on parade, and they had the music. It wasn't so intense and scary like it was in the old movie, but I liked that they did that with it. I also liked that they still kept a lot of scenes from the movie because it is 78 years apart. The 1941-2019, that's 78 years. Mm-hmm. And I liked that they still kept it a little bit different. I do want to talk about some of the characters in this movie. Like, obviously, the main human character being Colin Farrell's character, Holt. What's his name? I liked his character. He was at war. He came back with a missing arm, and I liked his development because he was a a horse wrangler?
Yeah, with his wife.
Oh yeah, and his wife is no longer with us. So we are actually going to take a quick little break real quick. Stay tuned with us. We'll come back and we'll talk more about the movie Dumbo, but let's see Adam with Netflix and DVD. Come back with us.
A promise was made. A promise that hit the beaches of Normandy. A covenant that split the skies over Berlin. A vow that captured Iwo Jima. A promise was made. A solemn oath that liberated Seoul. A sacred trust that defended Khe Sanh. A pact that dug in Da Nang. A contract that weathered Tet. A promise was made. A pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq. A bond that patrolled door to door in Fallujah. An IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. A promise we all must keep. DAV fights for all veterans and their families so they get the health care, financial benefits, and support they earned. If you're a veteran who needs help or you'd like to help us keep the promise, visit DAV.org.
Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Netflix and DVD picks. I'm Adam Stampley. Let's get right into it. First up on Netflix this week, we have The Hard Way, starring Michael J. White and Luke Goss. After learning his brother died on a mission to Romania, a former soldier teams up with two allies to hunt down a mysterious enemy and exact revenge. Next up, we have Close, starring Noomi Rapace and Olivia Jewson. A bodyguard and counter-terrorism expert, Sam, takes the job protecting a young, rich heroist named Zoe. Neither party is keen on the arrangement until a violent kidnapping forces them to go on the run. Next up, we have The After Party, starring Kyle and Harrison Holzer. When an aspiring rapper goes viral for all the wrong reasons, he thinks his career's over. But when his best friend gets them into a wild NYC after party, he gets one more chance to make the impossible happen. Coming out on DVD this week, we have Bumblebee, starring Haley Steinfeld and George Lindenborg. On the run in the year 1987, Bumblebee finds refuge in a junkyard in a small Californian beach town. Charlie, on the cusp of turning 18 and trying to find her place in the world, discovers Bumblebee battle-scarred and broken. Next up, we have The Mule, starring Clint Eastwood, and this is the story of Earl Stone, a 90-year-old Korean war veteran whose life takes a drastic turn when he becomes a mule for the Mexican cartel. Next up, we have Vice, starring Christian Bale and Amy Adams. The story of Dick Cheney, an unassuming bureaucratic Washington insider who quietly wielded immense power as vice president to George W. Bush, reshaping the country and the globe in ways that we still feel today. Well, that's going to do it for this week's Netflix and DVD picks. I'm Adam Stampley. Let's get you back to the picture show.
And welcome back. Again, we are talking about the remake of Dumbo. Where we left off, we were talking a little bit about Holt, the one-armed horse wrangler with his wife. So what did you think of his development?
Well, the first scene that we get is Holt coming home on a train and his two kids are running up to him. But when they see that he is missing his arm, he apologizes for not being the same and that he wasn't there for when their mom died of influenza during the winter. And so the kids are hesitant, obviously, because it's new and they just got their dad back and they're not sure how to feel except elated, but also like confused. And when they hug him, he's like, it's going to be the same. And throughout the movie, you see him trying to like go back to his old life as like a way of coping from the war and losing his arm. He just wants everything to go back to normal, except his wife is gone, who was his partner in horse wrangling, and also nothing's going to be the same since he is missing his arm. And his kids have grown up into these people that he doesn't really recognize, and he doesn't want to encourage their dreams because he's so desperate to stay stuck.
Right, like with the daughter, she is into science. She wants to be an inventor. She talks about a lot of technical terms like, scientifically proven and stuff like that. That's what she wants to be, but he still is just like, no, we're at the circus. That's not how it works here. It's never been like that when, things are different now. Let's go to Michael Keaton's character, which is V.A. Vanderveer, which is the owner of Dreamland, who came to get the circus because he heard about Dumbo flying around because, it made big headlines everywhere. And he was just like, and they're like, oh, I want that elephant. I want it at my circus. So he was the bad guy, if you can put it in that terms. And I think he did really well with this character. I like, even though he was a bad guy, I liked what they did with his character because he was kind of very, into corruption. Like, he's just like, I need money, was basically what it was all about.
Right. Well, with this character, what we get is him trying to exploit the main circus guy, played by Danny DeVito, the Medici brothers, except he doesn't have a brother, and he's always wanted to have someone of that figure. That's why he made the Brothers Circus. And so Vanderbilt uses this against him by saying they can be in a partnership and combine so that his circus people, who have been going downhill ever since, they've lost a couple of their main stars, and then Dumbo suddenly shoots them back up to popularity. Vanderbilt just kind of envelops them, except he lies and then kicks out and fires all of the troops. But in the contract, he said he had to hire them, but not for how long. And Danny DeVito's character was like, you said you would give him a home. And Vanderbilt was like, but not for how long. And so Vanderbilt talks about how he was abandoned as a child, and so he had to grow up. And he tries to force Mr. Holt's kids into growing up by taking away Dumbo and Dumbo's mother, except it doesn't work exactly how he thought it would.
No, it definitely didn't work. That ended with the circus, his whole dreamland burning to the ground because he's so corrupted by greed. They shut power down so they can escape with Dumbo's mom because they were planning on killing her because it distracted Dumbo, and they're like, well, Dumbo needs to grow up, needs to not, I had to grow up fast. So then it all came crashing down when they're like, alrighty, you have to give it a minute or you're gonna break, or you're gonna break everything. And he was like, I don't care, I want these lights on, and started flipping switches and everything, and there it goes. And you did talk about it a little bit, but I do want to talk more about Danny DeVito's character, which is Max Medici, I think is how you say it.
We're going to go with that.
We're going to go with that. So he owns the circus, like you said. He created the brothers when it's just him and acting as both until the winter came and everyone kind of just not a lot of people survived the winter. His main acts did, like the strong man. He had to make him the accountant when he's not good at that. It's just the mermaid went from being really skinny to what we talked about, eating a lot because she was sad.
She's a thick mermaid.
She was thick. but his character development was he didn't like Dumbo. He was like, he's a freak. He's going to get laughed at and everything. Like, his ears are big. I've been cheaped out, and everything, because he bought her because he was like, she's going to make me money. And that's why he got her. Another character I want to talk about real quick is Eva Green's character, which is the flying woman, the queen of the sky.
Queen of the Heavens.
Queen of the Heavens, that's what it was.
Yes, her name is Colette, and we are first introduced to her whenever she comes to check out Dumbo as like a good with Mr. Vanderbilt. Because in his way of wanting to bring in the Medici Brothers Circus is to, ultimately acquire Dumbo. And so Colette turns out to be this really sweet woman who is more compassionate than everybody else seems to think, because Vanderbilt has her all dolled up like some street performer, which she came from. She was a street performer in Paris.
Yes. I liked her character development because she fell in love with Dumbo. She was like, he has, good, he's a good elephant. He's really good at what he does and everything. So we are going to take another quick break. We're going to go to Sydney with the Friday Flick Pick. And we will come back. When we come back, we'll talk about some other scenes and other stuff that went on during the movie. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Rusty Wallace. In racing, the driver is only as good as the team they've got behind them. The same principle holds true in business. A successful company invests in employees that are highly skilled and display good character. Our returning servicemen and women fit that bill. They've shown that they've got the qualities that make them real assets to any company that hires them. In the military, their education may include training in technology, communications, and logistics. But more importantly are the values that they embrace, like courage, integrity, and leadership, the same values that can make a business successful. So if you're an employer, on behalf of the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, I want to urge you to hire smart and bet on a vet. It's also a great way to thank them for the service they provided on our behalf. To learn more, call the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes at 1-888-44-SALUTE or visit saluteheroes.org on the web. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning into this week's Friday Flick Pick. I'm Sydney Parker. 2018 has had no shortage of franchise reboots, and 2019 will be no different. Based on the horror novel by Stephen King, Pet Sematary follows Dr. Creed as he relocates his family to rural Maine. When the family cat passes away, Dr. Creed seeks the aid of his unusual neighbor, setting off a chain reaction of events that proves sometimes staying dead is better. Let's take a look at the trailer.
In the woods today, LA discovered a charming little landmark. The Pet Cemetery.
Place to bury our pets and remember them. Might seem scary, but it's not. Perfectly natural. Just like dying is natural.
The whole town's been using this place for generations. Folks make a kind of ritual out of it. It's not some campfire story.
Saw these in the trees up there.
They're warnings. The local tribes carved them before they fled. They fear that place. There's something up there. Something that dates way back. Those woods belong to something else. Something
That cat was dead.
that brings things back.
Church?
I know what you're thinking of doing. But they don't come back the same.
Daddy.
What's going on?
Hug your daughter.
I should never have shown you that place. Your child is not the only thing that will come back.
The barrier is broken. We have a second chance.
Sometimes dead is better.
That's all for this week's Friday Flick Pick. I'm Sydney Parker. Now let's get you back to the picture show.
And welcome back to the picture show. We're talking about the original or the remake of Dumbo. Some other things we wanted to touch up on is the original Elephant Tamer. Because when Holt came back, Danny DeVito's character was like, "Hey, I need you to tend to the elephants," because the original Elephant Tamer was kind of a jerk.
Yeah, no, the original Elephant Tamer was a bit of a not nice word. So he openly harasses the kids who have lost their mom, and he also openly harasses this veteran who just comes back and he's trying to, be right with himself, and then he calls him like a one-armed freak all the time. And then he also abuses the elephants. So in the scene where Mama Jumbo comes to protect Dumbo because they had just tried to, air Dumbo's debut, the Elephant Tamer is like mocking and harassing the elephants as usual, but he's also trying to get in the way of Holt between his kids and also try to hurt Holt in a way. And then the scene, it takes a very dark turn when Mama Jumbo hits the mast of the circus tent, and the Elephant Tamer, is under the bleachers at the time because he wanted to watch Holt get hurt, and he gets crushed, which I thought was a great ending to his life.
Oh yeah, just crushed. Some other things that was interesting is when they go to Dreamland and they are debuting Dumbo, they sold Dumbo dolls, and the dolls that they used was the original Dumbo with the yellow hat and the little neck thing he has. Like, they had the actual plush of the original Dumbo, which I thought was great as a placement of don't forget about the original Dumbo. And there was one that you caught that I didn't. We talked about it after the movie. It was who Mama Elephant played at the Living Nightmare little area they had.
So, whenever Dumbo was born, Danny DeVito's character makes the decision to sell Mama Jumbo back to the person that he bought her from, and he only takes her back at half price. So, because she did go out and kill a man, she was called the Mad Elephant. And it's later revealed that Vanderbilt had bought her. And he didn't realize it was Dumbo's mother, obviously, but Dumbo recognizes her trumpeting. And as Dumbo flies into Nightmare Island, where it's full of the spooky, dark, a werewolf, which is just a wolf in a shirt, crocodile with some paint on it, just going at it, he comes upon Kali, the Destroyer, which is a Hindu god. And she's very revered in their culture. And the Mama Elephant steps out. And it's really a nice touch because it also gives cultural, recognition, because India is known for having elephants symbolized as long as cows and stuff. But it was great.
I did like that they did that. So let's talk about the movie and about how it did. So the budget was $170 million was the estimate amount. Box office, they did $45 million, but they wanted to hit $50 million box office weekend. And I feel like they didn't hit that mark because a lot of people have a bad rap of when it comes to remakes of movies. A lot of people don't like remakes. Some remake movies that has come out are always really bad. For example, the Outlier remake. That one was not good.
Well, not only that, but the original Dumbo movie was overshadowed by two bigger movies at the time.
Right, because the director of the old Dumbo was actually named Daniel Armstrong, who also did Bambi and Snow White. He directed those movies as well. And that movie didn't really get a lot of recognition. It was always just signed out. So, final thought, what did you think of the movie? What would you rate the movie yourself?
Honestly, I love the movie. I thought it was amazing, especially with all the different references that are in there, and overall, I would go watch it for sure.
Oh yeah, I would say go watch it again. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Stay tuned to Thursday. Next Thursday, where we do another movie review. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all have a good day.